gave you guys long enough. The internet has spoiled everything within like 2 days. Not even. We've been ruining it beforehand. But here is your spoiler No Way Home review. So I saw it for a second time on Monday, and I still loved every second of it. Yet now, even when you know what's to come to be expected, this movie is absolutely incredible. I've said it in my last video, my spoiler-free video. If you haven't seen that, look right here. And if you don't want things to be spoiled, the fact that you can take Tom Holland's Spider-Man, who's not my favorite Spider-Man, I've said that also before, but make him into Spider-Man was absolutely phenomenal. I feel like Sony was just like, listen, you guys had Spider-Man long enough. You really don't know how to do them. We learned from our mistakes. Let's bring them back home. I love about giving Tom Holland Spider-Man the whole responsibility act. And I love that you see the dark things that he had to go through. And what's amazing is I know they try to stay away from the Uncle Ben thing, but having Aunt May, his Uncle Ben, like there was no dude in the picture, it was just Aunt May. That was pretty cool. And also by a guy that grew up with a single mom, I could relate to that a lot. It is just like, oh shoot, this is a person that didn't have a husband. This is the person that's very wise. And there are plenty of people that I've talked to, and if you went to my personal development podcast, you could also understand how some people, their moms are like that person, the wise person, and Aunt May is that guardian for him. And for her to be the Uncle Ben and for her to die and everything, with great power comes great responsibility, and she tells him, I was like, oh my gosh. It was just absolutely fantastic. Like I said, it's exactly what Tom Holland's Spider-Man needed. He was relying too much on everybody else and he couldn't rely on himself. This movie just made him totally responsible. And on top of that, not only was it dark, it was really funny too. I laughed throughout the entire movie from beginning to end. And if you're watching this video, that means you have seen No Way Home or you already had shit spoiled. So here we go. The fact that they brought back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, I was jumping for joy. Like, yeah! It was like Kermit the Frog. Yeah! Man, damn it. Andrew Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man. To have him back, he stole the show, by the way. This was not Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3. This was Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man 3. It's just his acting ability, man. Like, he's a really good actor, and the fact that you can always feel his emotions, like, you're like, ah. Especially when he caught MJ, and he was like, oh my God, I did it. He saved her, but he couldn't save Gwen. And to see that pain and emotion, I was like, oh, my heart. And then on top of that, he was really, really funny. I'm telling you, he is Spider-Man to me. He's really funny. And then I feel like they made his writing better in this one, that he was more awkward than Tobey and Tom Holland. When he's like, I love you guys. And they're like, thank you. I think he stole the show for me. He stole the show, and he was absolutely hilarious, especially when they emphasized on Tobey's organic webs. He's like, how does that even work? It was phenomenal. And again, even though he's really funny, Tom Holland was really funny too. And I love the banter between the three Spider-Mans. They all made it funny. Calling Tobey a cool youth pastor, asking if he could shoot organic webs from anywhere else. I was like, where are they going with this? Come on, you know what I'm talking about. And then to see Tobey Maguire, the OG in there. And the fact that OG Spider-Man was more of an Uncle Ben than anybody else. He came in there when Tom Holland was like, with great power, Tobey was like, oh, with great responsibility. He's like, how'd you know that? He's like, Uncle Ben told us. Him being the older, wiser Peter was fantastic. Just making sure that Tom Holland doesn't go down that road of, darkness and whatnot. I love the fact, I don't know if it was because of the train, but his back, or he was just saying because he's old. That was hilarious to me. It was absolutely phenomenal how all three also, while they're fighting, they're saying different things. You see that Tobey's Spider-Man is still that hero. Like, he's just like, Flint, we're trying to save you. We're trying to save you. He's trying to talk some sense into people. While Andrew Garfield still is talking smack. He's like, hey, it's good to see you again. He's like, wait your turn. And then you see the leadership of Tom Holland because he was a part of the Avengers. See, I love that tie-in. I love that they tied that in because, again, he had to rely on so many people before and he didn't have that responsibility. But to make it a positive and to bring it in to show his leadership, that he's like, well, I work with the Avengers. That was phenomenal. And by the way, that joke was incredible. He's like, really? That's awesome. Who are the Avengers? He's like, is that a rock band? Are you in a band? My gosh, incredible. Not only that, Doctor Strange, absolutely phenomenal as well. I love Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he's a fantastic actor too. The whole fight scene between him and Spidey. Amazing. I love Doctor Strange is one of my favorite MCU movies because I love the whole mystic magic and mirror world and everything else. I love how you see that he's still like a grouchy old man. However, like how he even himself is like, man, I gotta check myself because you're just a kid. And I like the fact that Tom Holland didn't beat Doctor Strange because he's stronger, but he used his smarts. That's another thing that I did not like in the previous ones. Like his smarts went out the window. But in this movie, it capitalizes how smart he is by himself. No Tony Tech, no nothing. He is super smart. In the mirror world, geometry, you're fantastic at geometry. And they even threw him in his face. You know what's better than magic? Math, bitch. And then you see the smarts throughout that. Even he impressed Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn was just like, if you ever want to cross another dimension, you got a job at Oscorp. To impress other smart people was great. And I love that they had each individual Spider-Man working on their own things in the lab. That was another amazing thing, pun intended. You see how smart they are and they work together? And another thing I absolutely love, we got the, you, me, you. I loved how they're like, if we don't get this, we're gonna riot. And we got it. Peter, me, Peter, him, you. I'm telling you, man, this movie blew my expectations out of the water. There's not enough that I can say about it. I mean, the story was fantastic, how they combined everything. It flowed very well. And like I said, they created Tom Holland to be Spider-Man. He finally knows with great power comes great responsibility. He went through the tragedy. He got his ass smacked. He got his ass whooped through the whole movie, which was absolutely spectacular. I got a lot more Spidey puns for you. But yeah, the villains were incredible. Like I said in my previous video, everyone played their part. Yeah, some villains shine more, like the Green Goblin, holy shit. However, all of them played a part. It wasn't just like, hi, I'm here, and that's it. They had their comedic moments as well. They definitely progressed the story forward. Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, and Jamie Foxx really outdone themselves. Jamie Foxx is funny. He's also a great actor as well. I loved how his Electro explained that he went from blue to yellow and white with the new power. Alfred Molina always does a great job as Doc Ock. To have that nostalgia of Doc Ock coming back in, they were talking about how now that the CG, he can move how he wants to, and it's more like Dr. Octopus in the cartoons and the video games and stuff, that he's able to do more things rather than like in Spider-Man 2 where he was very limited with the puppeteers. And then obviously the cream of the crop that rises to the top, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. Dude, I love that they took off the mask, because even Tom Holland said it, when you have a mask over your face, it's really hard to display emotions. On camera, for cinema, everyone knows that your emotions are face value. It's here. It's no big acting. You don't want to overdo it, because then you look silly. You look like a dumb bitch, like this guy. When it comes to a mask, even Tom Holland said it, well, I have to overdo it to display emotion because you don't have this. Dude, the fact that they took Willem Dafoe out of that mask, that was the best thing they could have ever done. Because yeah, he looked cool, you get the nostalgia factor, and then he breaks it and everything's in his face. Dude, the emotion that he plays when he's scared and then when he's crazy and when he starts laughing, I mean, he is scarier than that mask. His emotions played on his face is better than that mask. He said that he didn't want to come back just for a cameo, that he did all his own stunts, and which was beautiful. And I love that they played on his strength, because when he fought Toby in the first movie, you saw that Green Goblin was just as strong as Spider-Man. In this one, he just murked Tom Holland like no tomorrow. I was like, good Lord. He honestly put a lot of that weight on his back. He progressed that movie like no other, man. I'm telling you. Zendaya's MJ, and then I still forget his name, sorry, that does Ned. But they finally have some range. They finally, you see their emotions like crying, laughing. I love the fact that Ned had wizard powers. This is a Spanish thing too, and which I could relate, was when he's like, oh, my Nana says it runs in my family. Dude, Spanish folk always are saying like, oh, like we have psychics and healers and all that shit in our family. And it's hilarious that he's like, oh, it's in my family, and then it actually works. I laughed really hard. And finally, I love that MJ shows emotions. That is one of the greatest things ever. Instead of just being like, I love the fact that she shows her entire range in this movie. I love that she laughs, that she's like, meh, and then she cries, the whole nine. I really do. And I love the Easter eggs. I love that he has a traditional red and blue suit at the end, which makes it complete that he is Spider-Man now. Very similar to classic Spidey. Spider's different and whatnot, but it gives you that feel how Tobey's and Andrew's have the traditional red and blue. I like that he had it, but not only that, it's the traditional color. It's more of a light lighter blue than a darker blue. Love it. So the Venom scene, man, at first when I saw it happen, I was like, look how they massacred my boy. However, I love the fact that he's like, I gotta talk to this Spider-Man, but then a piece of him left in Tom Holland's universe. For me, that means that Tom Hardy could possibly be Andrew's Venom. He can go back to that universe and be Andrew Garfield's Venom, and then we can have the Andrew Garfield and Tom Hardy universe. Would be amazing. And then the fact that there's a piece of Venom that's in Tom Holland's universe can go to a different Eddie Brock after, because remember, this Venom, kind of like Tobey's Venom, it would go onto him first and then onto Eddie Brock, which would be probably a totally different Eddie Brock in that universe. I think that's dope, man. I love that you saw a bunch of different villains from a different universes. Like you saw the actual Rhino instead of the robot Rhino. You saw Scorpion, etc. I love that that's from different universes. That means if they do progress like Old Man Tobey, you know, Old Man Spider-Man, then you can have those villains. Or if we continue Andrew Garfield, you can have those villains come up. Or even somehow bring them into Tom Holland's universe. And now that we're doing intersecting of universes, whether it's Loki or just because of this, we can even get a Madam Web. We can get a Madam Web that goes ahead and brings all the Spider-Man together. Or even, hear me out, Across the Spider-Verse. Remember, Across the Spider-Verse, the animated movie with Spider-Man 2099 and Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen we saw is part 1. Maybe in part 2, they bring Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey, or just 2 of them or 1 of them into that animated universe, or even they bring Miles out of that universe into live action Miles. I'm telling you, there's so many possibilities with this, and I cannot wait for that movie. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell button for all of my videos. And yes, it does help my channel a lot. So if you find any entertainment value or any of my other playlists, please like and subscribe, because it really does help my channel out. And make sure to share with all your family and friends. I love ya, be safe, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.